So, good morning and welcome to Cryptoparty, the cybersecurity lecture. Uh, my name is Pavel Gay, and some of you may have met me yesterday. I am a professional programmer and hacker, mostly focusing on activism. On this photo, you can see me as I spent a few years working for companies in Silicon Valley and in the US. I saw a lot of stuff that not everything of that I can talk about because of NDAs. And similarly as yesterday, you will be able to see the slides online. You already should have the link on your email. Let's start. So first, I would like to tell you a few words about who a hacker is, because in most places hackers are pretty demonized. The Hollywood would have you believe that hackers are those evil people that break into banks or CIA or FBI and do all the bad things. But the reality is a little bit more complex. So hackers, people who call themselves that, are people who use technology outside of how it's meant to be used. Those are the modern day inventors with a very specific ethics of how they create stuff and how they share this information. This is my colleague, Conor Russomano, who co-created what is called an OpenBCI, a brain-computer interface, which allows you to control a computer with your brain. And this is nothing big, because universities all around Europe already have such devices. But in this case, this is first, free for everybody to copy and patentless. Second, building one costs you about $1,000 to $2,000, comparing to a university standard, which is about $20,000. So this is something really huge. And even though a lot of universities in Europe are pretty careful about working with such independent inventors, hackers are the people who create technology and stand on the bleeding edge outside of a lot of companies, often outside of research institutions, just because they love technology and they would love to share what they found. Next, we have makers. Makers are people who focus on creating more substantial physical things. So if you have heard about the 3D printer revolution with all the people working on patentless open hardware 3D printers, those were created by makers. And here on the photo you have Limor Fried, also known as Lady Ada, who is an American maker and educator who has a company which sells and prepares a lot of really good educational materials about electronics. Then we have a hacktivist, which has a double meaning, because first, this is an activist who is interested and who does activism about the internet, for example, the freedom of speech on the internet, anti-censorship aspects of the internet, but it can also be an activist who uses the internet to do something. And we have a lot of cases where on some forums or on Reddit, people use hacktivism to stalk each other, dox each other, or try to pinpoint who is a perpetrator of some crime without doing a proper investigation. We call them hacktivists as well, and this makes this term not only good. Those are not just properly prepared activists. This can turn into a mob as well. Then we have cybercriminals. And I would like to make a distinction that hackers are not, or at least most hackers are not cyber criminals. If you look at the statistics, most of cyber criminals are either members of organized crimes specialized in some kind of crime, often buying their technology from what is called black hat hackers, so hackers working with crime and hackers working with intelligence agencies, or often they are actually the previous employees of a company that they are attacking, already possessing all the know-how and using it to hurt somebody. Then I would like to say a few things about copyright. And I realized I cannot tell you everything I tell my Polish students about copyright, because we are in so different countries with so different legal systems that that it will not be true for everybody. But what is very important when talking about digital copyright and also cybersecurity in context of copyright, in a lot of legal systems, in basically every legal system, what is legal is not necessarily what is ethical, and vice versa. What is ethical may not be legal. So you will have a lot of discussions with your students about privacy, about is it okay to, for example, pirate a movie to show it in a classroom as the educational exception, and the answers of what is legal will vary in your country. But I want to show you some of the cybersecurity and ethical aspects. So first, in addition to regular copyright, you have what is called copyleft. So a whole category of licenses where the authors of something invite you to try to read something, watch something, share something, even sometimes build on what they created. You have quite a lot of resources licensed with Creative Commons on the internet. Oh, sorry, I wrote something. Okay. We have Wikipedia. Wikipedia is created on Creative Commons CC by SA. It means that everybody can edit it, everybody can read it, and everybody can even sell it. If you find somebody who would like to buy a Wikipedia from you, you can legally sell it to them. We have Flickr, which has a filter, and you can look for Creative Commons photos. On Jamendo, you can find a lot of Creative Commons music, and you have some really nice art projects, which are wikis or which are some other formats, which allow you to co-create some art with other members and reuse art created by other members, like the SCP wiki here. And people who create copylefts or Creative Commons art or Creative Commons content still would like you to pay for that, but they do not ask for the money up front. Instead, there are a lot of ways to support artists that you like, such as International Patreon based in US, Polish Patronite. I guess every country has its own counterpart. We have something called LiberPay, and we have something called Flutter, which has a very interesting business model where you pay like €50 a month or however you want, and then you make which author you would like to flutter this month, and then your set amount of money gets divided among those authors. So all those allow you to support people even though they do not ask for the money up front. And I will also encourage you to ignore all the requests to allow showing ads on your computer and use this instead, because a lot of copy creators will tell you, we are sorry, but you need to see our ads and you need to give us your data to allow us to use your cookies in order to use this page. Sadly, this is all either a privacy or a cybersecurity risk, and we had multiple cases both in Poland and worldwide where, for example, a newspaper doesn't control what kind of ads are displayed on its page, and people who go to a legitimate big newspaper page get infected with malicious software which uses their computers to mine Bitcoin. And if we are at a point where we cannot trust the ads providers to show us to secure ads, I'm afraid that we cannot allow for the ads to be shown at all. I will show you how to bypass it, but for now, please keep in mind that it doesn't mean that you're stealing from somebody. There are a lot of sites with subscription models, and a lot of others allow such projects like this. Then we have software. So according to my knowledge, European-wide, no matter what your law says about fair use of static works like books, movies, that every time you open them, they look the same. Software has a little different kind of licensing. So whether it is an operating system, whether this is a game or a piece of software that you use to paint something, it always requires you to have a legal license. There are multiple licenses, but if you are talking about commercial software, you need to have some permission from the authors to use it. In multiple legal systems in Europe, it is illegal to just possess a piece of software on your hard drive without having a license for it. And as far as I know, in no European legal system, it is true that, hey, you can only use this software for 24 hours, then you can delete it and it's all okay. No, you need a specific license from the owners of the rights. But then there is something called free software, and free software is not free as in you got a gift, it's free as in freedom to do things with it. So free software is a kind of license which allows you to run, so use any piece of software, and that has this license, which allows you to study this software, which is extremely important for hackers to share the knowledge, but also it is very important that you can actually see if the software is doing what it promises you that it does. So this will be vital when we are talking about cybersecurity. You are free to redistribute this software, so you can share it with anybody, and you are free to improve it, which leads to hackers using opportunities to actually build a patch and create something better. And you already know a lot of good examples of that. For example, Firefox browser, also Chromium browser, not Google Chrome. Google Chrome is not a free software, but Firefox and Chromium is. GIMP for image creation and manipulation, the LibreOffice and OpenOffice packages to create presentations and so on, and a lot of media media viewer called VLC. There are a lot of applications with free software, and this is actually which creates the internet infrastructure. Without free software, we wouldn't be able to use the internet, because the very computers that serve you web pages are free software, and the GC we are using right now is free software as well, so you can look what it does and how it works. But let's go further. So, cybersecurity and the very basics of our 21st century approach to cybersecurity is passphrases. We assume that everything everything that is protected needs to have some kind of passphrase. And what is not protected by a passphrase is free for the taking for anyone. So if you have an account with no passphrase or bad passphrase, anybody on the internet can take it. If you don't have a strong passphrase on your notebook and you leave it somewhere, somebody will have access to everything you do on your computer. So this is very important. Moreover, if you even have a passphrase on your computer, on your operating system, and you leave it unlocked and just walk away, no matter how strong the passphrase is, somebody will have access to your computer. So whichever operating system you use, learn how to lock it, so when you stand up and walk away from your computer, nobody can use it. On Windows, the combination, don't try it right now, please. The combination is Windows and the letter L on the keyboard. On Macs, it's Control Command plus Q. Your phones are usually locked by default, but if they are not, you can set up a passphrase, which should be something else than just pattern. Patterns are really easy to guess from just how the slides, how the screen looks like, with if you can look like under the light and see if there are any traces on it. But you can set up some PIN on your phone, some passphrase on your phone, so that every time you open it, you need to actually input it. And this is not convenient. The command to lock your Windows is Windows. This is the second or the third key from your left bottom. It has like the Windows logo, those 4 tiny squares. On some computers, it can be called Super. The biggest enemy of that is convenience, because having strong passphrases, every passphrase to every place should be different, and we need to input it every time. This is so annoying. And I don't know if you know this man. This is Donald Tusk, the former head of European Union, and this is a photo from back when he was Prime Minister of Poland. He actually left his computer with all of the prime ministerial data. Just a reminder, Prime Minister is the most important politician in Polish legal system. And not only was the computer unlocked, he actually had a sticker with his login and password on his computer, and he left it for all the journalists to see. So I'm happy Poland doesn't have any nuclear weapons, because that could get ugly. I hope that in European Union he learned a little better cybersecurity, but this isn't like, hey, look at this one politician. Every company, like armies, a lot of places in the world, they have really bad practices, and a lot of people put sticky notes with passwords on their computers. No matter how strong your passphrase is, no matter how long and good it is, if you have it on your monitor, it is not a passphrase. It doesn't secure anything. And just to show you, this is an example from the US based in Hawaii. A few days before there was that false alarm that sent most of people in Hawaii looking for shelter. Do you see anything here? Maybe I will zoom. So this is a military base with very high security, which has access to a lot of things, and yet people post to photos that will be published online with clearly visible passwords. And with this password, you can actually guess what the password to the main system is. So that's bad. And before this presentation, I shown you the Insecam. If you buy a device which is connected to the internet, and right now we have smart everything, smart fridges, smart dishwashers, smart vacuums, and if you do not set a password yourself, change the default one, somebody from the internet can get access to it. And this is an example of a photo from a Polish preschool, which installed cameras that were initially sent to parents because, hey, only parents have a link. What bad thing can happen? We shouldn't put any password on it. But the internet doesn't work this way. If something is on the internet, it's searchable, and even if it doesn't have a nice domain name but just an IP number, you can access it. So people were able to see those cameras and see all the kids, and if anybody had malicious intent and wanted to kidnap the kids, wanted to hurt any of them, this gave them all the information they needed to. So if you are getting any smart system, CCTV cameras or anything, please remember to change your passwords, because default password is as bad as no password. And to give you some ideas about passphrases and passwords used in Poland, on the left you have the number. This is data from some leak, because some passwords leak. On the right you have how popular it is. So you can see that the most popular password in Poland was 123456. Then it was QWERTY, the first 5 letters from the top of the keyboard. The ZAQ12 is the first letters, but in a column. Then Polska, because of course you need to have Poland as a password. Then some names. Those passwords are not good passwords, and you can as well have no password if you want to have something like that. So if you have anything which is your name, the name of your spouse, the name of your child, the name of your pet, which can be easily guessed, or is just really easy combination of numbers, please change it. So a good passphrase should be long, should be non-obvious, or maybe I should say long means over 24 characters. And it doesn't need to have all the fancy periods, fancy quotes or anything else. It just needs to be long. This is backed by research. The first initial thing saying, the first initial advice which said that every password should have a big letter, small letter, number, and a special character, is already disregarded in the cybersecurity community. It was already disproven. So non-obvious means that it should not relate to you or anything which can be connected to you. And it also needs to be unique. So it shouldn't repeat, because if your password repeats, if your passphrase repeats among different sites, if somebody manages to break one site, they will have access to your passphrase everywhere. So what is an example of a good passphrase? This is a good passphrase, because passphrase can be sentences. Passphrases can have spaces inside. And no one will guess that this is my actual Facebook password is a good passphrase. And you can use it. You can use sentences in a lot of places, and once you remember sentences, it's much easier. Also, with those, it's much easier to remember, and you do not need to write them down on some post-it notes. Moreover, at some point you will have too many passphrases and you will need a place to write them down. But do not do that in any paper notebook. Do not do that in any file on your computer. Use specialized software which is called a password manager or a password wallet. An example here, which is free software, so you can use it for free. It works on any system, and it was already proven to be secure. It's called KeePassX. This is the XC version, which is a little better, which is basically an encrypted database that you have a single password to. So you open this application, you input your one strong password, and it has a list of all your logins, all the sites for them, and all the passwords, and it can remind you any of them. You can use you can see that there are some online password wallets which are easier because they synchronize between your devices. So they allow you to automatically remember the same password on your computers, on your smartphone, and so on. But there is a problem, because once such a database being stored online is broken into, you can potentially lose your passwords. And I was in one situation where my employer in the US actually used a similar system and it was broken into. It caused immense chaos because all of the passwords needed to be changed immediately before somebody actually breaks into it. So please, please choose the offline option. Create a database, which will be a file on your computer, and then copy it to different places, but do not use the synchronized one. This is an additional risk. Then we have what is called multi-factor authentication. It means that in addition to providing your passphrase, to get something to log you in, you need to do something else. And the most popular now, mandated as the minimum protection for banking in the European Union, is SMS. So in addition to putting your password or deciding to make some transaction, banks will send you an SMS with some code that you will input in the application or on the computer, and only then the login or the transaction will be allowed. This is much better than just a passphrase, but SMS system is really easy to spoof and it's really easy to impersonate somebody. So we already had multiple successful attacks on large groups of people using SMS impersonation. What is better is having some kind of application on your phone which would generate some code every few seconds, which will allow you to input it in addition to your password and continue using some app. This is better, but this requires you to have a smartphone and may not be perfect for anybody, for everybody. But then there's another category which is called hardware authenticators, which are physical keys similar to a pen drive that you need to insert into your USB port, and in order to log in, this key needs to be present. There are multiple such keys. Some of them are open hardware, so they are actually checked by hackers and they are really secure, but not every kind of key works for everybody. So you may need to check which systems work with the key, or what key works with the systems you would like to secure. The cost of such key is usually 20 to 40 euro. So if you have a job which requires you to have access to some secure database, buying one may be pretty sensible. And if you lose one, there are ways to recover access, which are not that hard, but this is the base and this is very secure because you basically have a key, like physical traditional key, to some database, to some system. Next, sometimes your passwords have leaked. And how the leaks work, first some cybercriminal group breaks into some company, breaks into some server, and they get the database. They start by selling it to the highest bidder or using it themselves, but after some time it gets leaked publicly, so everybody can have access to passwords, or those are not exactly passwords, those are what is called hashed passwords, so to some version of your password at that site. And there are two good web pages, Firefox Monitor and Have I Been Pwned, where you can see if your email has been already breached and if any site that you registered at had a leak and your password, your passphrase to that site was already leaked. Let me input my my email and let's see. It hasn't leaked before. Like it's secure, it hasn't leaked before. But let me input some other mail that I know that previously has leaked, and a few times. So it was leaked 8 times. So the account associated with this email was leaked. The password associated with this email was leaked with Adobe, with CD Projekt Red, some unnamed collection book. So here we don't know where is it from. It can be repeated, it can be something else. From Dropbox, from Kickstarter, from MySpace, from Patreon, and from Trillion. So if that person from this email used the same passphrase everywhere, having just one of the passwords from one leak would allow people to use and break into their accounts everywhere. That's why you need to have different passwords in different places. With some services like Firefox Monitor, you can actually sign up, and Mozilla, the creators of Firefox, will notify you when they find your email in one of the leaked databases. Okay, going further, those of you that were here yesterday already know the answer to this one, but this quote, yeah, so if you ever need info about anyone at Harvard, just ask. I have over 4,000 emails, pictures, addresses, social media logins. What? How did you manage this one? People just submitted it. I don't know why. They trust me, dumb fucks. And this was said by none other than Mark Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook, the owner of Instagram, WhatsApp, and Oculus, who has access to so much of our communication and who is an active agent influencing democracies all over the world. He's such a trustworthy person. We can trust him with our data. We aren't dumb fucks, are we? So there's a rule, a general rule, that if we don't pay for some service, we are its product, not its client. And this applies to basically everything on the internet. You can get a free product, which is like a piece of software, because if you get a browser, it's enough to write a browser once and then you use it. But if you get a service, like you get updates, you have an email, it costs something. So unless you check and know that this is run by a foundation, or you pay for it and you actually read every term and condition, you are a product. Your data will be sold and the company will make money on it. And this is true for a lot of places. Skype actually registers a lot of the conversations and it can sell it for transcripts. Google reads our emails. Dropbox opens all the files and reads them. Google actually gets probably the most of data on the internet. On Twitter, you can check and show ads to really specific people, and Twitter knows a lot about people, their political views, their marketing behaviors, really a lot. Facebook, the same. And we all agreed to it because we all read the terms and conditions, right? We just accepted everything because that's how internet works. It was started with the American model that everything that's not illegal is allowed, and we got contracts, we signed them. They can do whatever they want with our data. But there is a way to actually deal with it. There's a service called Terms of Service, didn't read, that you can click on and you will get short summaries of terms and services of different products. So you can actually you can read what will this service do with your data, and it's rated with class how good it is for you for privacy. So you see that, for example, Wikipedia does this, but they can delete your account without prior notice and without a reason. So that might be problematic. But you have some really bad examples. So coming back. If you would like to delete your account, before GDPR in Europe it was even harder, but even now it's pretty hard. And for example, deleting your account on Facebook needs a really complicated procedure and takes a month. Like Facebook actually asks you to wait 30 days before it deletes your account. And in order to, yes, this is scary. In order to know how to delete your account, there is a site called Just Delete Me that you can see how easy it is and step-by-step procedure. Before GDPR, there was a problem because in some cases like Facebook or LinkedIn, even after deleting your account, all your information and all your photos, media there would stay, and all the rights would stay with the social network. So we had cases where professional models had their photos being used for LinkedIn advertising without their knowledge or permission, just because they could. Now European GDPR basically changed that for the whole world, and it's a great achievement for European digital rights. And if anybody tells you that GDPR is stifling innovation or anything, they don't know what they are doing. We need GDPR really hard. And right now, the companies have no rights to use our data after we delete them. And why is it done? Why do they need the data? The data is needed to profile us, to know as much as we can about us, to show us ads, and to do data mining. So the ads are really specific, because it can start with knowing if somebody is male or female. We will market different products. But then it starts being really creepy, because, for example, we can see, hey, is this person a depressed man with between 16 and 24 years old? Because if yes, we will market them products specifically for depressed men. And in case of Facebook, this is even, hey, is this person depressed? Because we can make them more depressed by slightly modifying the newsfeed they see in order to sell them more stuff for depressed people. And Facebook actually did run several such studies of manipulating user moods without their knowledge or consent. And they actually published those studies. For women, getting data from multiple sources and, for example, knowing if they are pregnant or when they will have their period is a thing. We had cases where Facebook and Twitter knew that a woman is pregnant before she learned it, because they had very good social predictors, and based on the changes in behavior and lack of typical monthly variation, they marked this user is probably pregnant, start showing pregnancy ads. And the amount of information that those sites hold over us is scary and problematic, because it can lead to manipulation of the whole societies. A few years ago, we had a scandal with Cambridge Analytica, which was a company which used several sources of information, mostly from Facebook, to actually start micro-targeting people. Micro-targeting is basically creating an ad that not everybody will see, but people in only a very specific life situation. So, for example, we know that Cambridge Analytica was used by Donald Trump in the US, and if Facebook or if any system created by Cambridge Analytica marked anybody as this is a single mother that has just suffered a breakup, she doesn't have any spouse and is struggling financially and emotionally, they will start showing her ads. Only Donald Trump will assure that all families in the US will stay strong and healthy. If somebody just lost a job, they will see an ad. Only Donald Trump will make sure that no Mexican immigrants will steal away your job anymore. And this way we are manipulating single people based on some predictors created by social media, And with this, a whole society can be manipulated. And those don't need to be a very verbose ads like vote X. Those can be really subtle things. So if, for example, in the Brexit referendum in the UK, if somebody was marked as won't be convinced to vote Brexit, then we can show them enough ads showing that nobody will vote Brexit and you can stay at home and don't come to the vote, that they will stay home. So manipulation starts being really scary, and suddenly sharing our data is not just a matter of privacy for individuals, but it's a matter of social cohesion. And this is really important. This is something that we should understand in Europe, and sadly within European Union we are not doing enough to curb it. There are some ways. If we have time during workshop we can discuss them, but those measures will not be easy. What we can do to stop it? What we can do to stop it as individuals? We can get the companies to get less data about us. So we can start with using a secure browser, which is free software, which allows people to check how it works, and which gives us the ability to use extensions. And right now, as a hacker, I can recommend Mozilla Firefox. I do not recommend Google Chrome or Chromium because of several reasons, but even 2 days ago we had a news that even though Google Chrome claims to be open and secure, if you ask it to delete your data from Google so that Google wouldn't be able to spy on you, it will say it complies, but it will not delete this data. So you need to assume that Google Chrome as well as Chromium will be used to spy on you. Mozilla Firefox is created by Mozilla Foundation and is one of the only, if not the only big secure browsers. There are several others such as Brave, Epiphany and so on, but Mozilla is really the best choice right now. Then you need to install some extension which will block the ads. Not everybody knows, but all those flashy blinking ads you see on the internet can be just turned off, and you can do it with one of the blockers such as AdBlock or uBlock Origin. And this will make the internet faster, and this will make the internet more secure, because sadly some of the ads, in addition to tracking you, because every ad you see on the internet actually steals your data, and those ads can be a direct threat. They can contain malicious code, and most ad companies do not have any way of checking if their ad is malicious. So you can be actually infected through an ad. That's silly, but this is the main business model on the internet right now, and I encourage you to not use it. So European Union mandated that you should be notified that this site uses cookies, and it's been 10 years too late and nobody understands what the cookies are about. So how it started? Cookies were initially used as like a configuration file for a website. So for example, if you logged into a website, closed it and opened it again, a cookie would be just an information this user has already logged in, and there is no need to log them out for the next, let's say, a week or a month. So it's a nice idea, but sadly people started having very devious ideas about how to use them. So currently, this is another Firefox extension. If you would like to play with yourself, like play with it yourself, or show it to your students, it's called Lightbeam. What does it show? When you enter a single web page, the circle in the middle, it shows you all the other web pages it loads as well. And those web pages usually show ads. Those can be also tracking pixels, but each of those triangles knows that you visited the circle site. And if a site has, for example, a Facebook Like Me button or a Tweeted button, then Twitter and Facebook will know that you actually used this site. And if you are logged to Twitter or Facebook, you will also send them a cookie. So even though you are not actively using Twitter or Facebook right now, they will know that you just went on a site, and they will be able to track you there. So we had several cases within European Union when a user actually sued Facebook, Twitter and similar to show them all the information about them, and it turned out that most of information gathered about the user was not from directly using their web page, but from using some media outlets and other web pages containing those buttons. And if there is, for example, a Yahoo, a Google, you can see Google here, for example, or Twitter, Facebook triangle, it will spy on you on different sites, every site that has this button, and it will gather quite a comprehensive amount of data of what you did on this specific date, which will later use to manipulate us in some way. What can we do? Another browser extension, this is called Privacy Badger. This is by Electronic Frontier Foundation, another foundation that I can attest to that is legit from the United States. And Privacy Badger blocks a lot of the cookies. Some web pages may not work properly, or you may not see some things, but you will mostly see Privacy Badger block this element. Would you like to allow it? You can choose them manually or turn them out for this specific site, which will still improve your privacy. For video conferencing, if you would like for your conversation not to be recorded, you can use Jitsi. A lot of other video conferencing software like Google, like Skype, can record your software. Moreover, if you use Zoom, Zoom can actually spy on what applications do you have open on your computer, and it can give this information not only to Zoom owners, but also to other participants in the conference call. So Jitsi is really one of the best standards, and if you don't like the server meet.jitsi, you can set it up yourself. I'm currently holding my own server, which I pay $5 a month for, and it's enough to hold like 10 people conferences. Going to privacy against other users. As teachers, you may have heard about Melissa Bauer, who was over 10 years ago as a teacher. She wanted to show her students how fast can information spread on social media. So she wrote such a letter to her students saying, "Hello, I am a teacher. Please share this as far as you can." And within 5 hours, this had a few million shares. It's mostly obvious to us in 2020 that stuff on the internet can go viral or spread really, really quickly. And moreover, it has a Streisand effect. It means the more we would like to delete it, the more it can spread. So this is a photo of Barbara Streisand house that she found in some public place, because somebody was just flying over US doing some photos of the whole coast. And she actually issued cease and desist letter, and she asked for this photo to be removed from the internet. She enraged a few trolls who decided, okay, she wants it deleted from this site, we will post it on 5 others. And the more she posted with cease and desist letters to remove this, the more it spread up to the point where the effect of malicious reposting was actually called the Streisand effect, because as you can see, this photo is now quite popular and used in several handbooks about the internet. Just a second. So what can we do when we want to keep our information non-public on the internet? First, we can ask ourselves, do I really want to share this? But for a lot of information, it's kind of an obvious question. We want to share, for example, tell our friends over the internet where do we live or where will we be. So what we can do, and this is an actual thing which is withheld by German law, and I am so grateful to German legal system for that, we can hold multiple identities on the internet. As you know, Facebook and several other web pages will strongly insist that we should only be under our real name to reduce trolling and so on. But sadly, this makes us also very, very easy to track. So what you can do, if you have a political forum or a hobby forum and you would not like your information to be spread to, for example, your colleagues or your students or people from other places, you can use a pseudonym and you can use different email. And as long as you don't use the same email and you don't share the links and the information in the same place, it is pretty hard to track you for another user. It's pretty easy to track you as the owner of such forum with access to IPs and so on. But even with your IP, it's hard to track you as another user. So if you use different photos or different avatars in those places, different emails, you can set up a few email accounts and you can have all of them to forward emails to one of them. So you will actively use only one inbox. But this way you will be much harder to track on the internet. And what happens when your sensitive data is leaked? This is a problem for a lot of high school students. I get asked this by a lot of high schoolers who start sharing some risky photos or even outright porn among each other. And there can be cases of revenge porn where somebody posts the photos of their ex online. Or even it can be some sensitive data. Right now in Poland, we have a real problem with sensitive data of somebody being transsexual or somebody belonging to some minority league. So what we can do? First, we can ask for deletion. Maybe somebody didn't mean to post it. For example, our photos from some party that we didn't want to end up on Facebook. So we can ask for deletion. But if the deletion doesn't happen, if somebody wants to keep them, we can ask site administrator to take them down. And within GDPR, if we prove that this is us and the IP within the photo, the IP being intellectual property belongs to us, the service administrator is obliged to turn it down. This will work on Facebook and sites which have very specific rules for how to take those down. But in some cases, such as revenge porn sites, the owner can basically say that they will not delete them because that's how their site operates. They may be not compliant by GDPR, but they are registered in Iceland or wherever, and they don't need to. So then we can escalate to a hosting company. So the company to which the server on which the site is belongs. And if we can prove that this site breaks GDPR, the hosting company can turn off the whole site. Then, whether we succeeded or not, we should file a claim in the police, police precinct, because even if in a lot of countries the police is not able to help us with data theft, we should still increase the statistics of cybercrime, which will lead to our country actually spending more resources on cybercrime divisions of the police. So I can tell you that in Poland, it is very unlikely for a case to be fixed by local police. This is mostly a matter of, hey, I got cheated on by some seller on Polish version of eBay or something. But identity theft will not be resolved by the police. And if something is outside of European Union, outside of the direct jurisdiction of your police, the chances of this getting resolved are pretty low. I do not know how Austrian police operates, so this may be different in Austria, but I wouldn't expect Bulgarian police to be much more competent than Polish. I would be, if you would like to surprise me, I would love to be surprised in that. And GDPR, as I said, GDPR is extremely important because it finally gives us a base bill of rights on the internet, which actually affects everybody, no matter if they are in the US or the EU, because the companies often implemented GDPR in a blanket way across all their products. So this is great, and without GDPR, we would be in much worse position to fight and oppose all the social media giants. And if anybody tells you that it stifles innovation, that it's hard to implement, I am sorry, we need that. So, cybercrime itself. Let's talk about people who actively want to hurt you on the internet. The most popular way of conning people, of hurting people on the internet is phishing. And phishing is basically impersonating somebody else, sending you an email or a different kind of message, claiming that they are somebody else and they need you to do something. The most common you may see is, hey, we are from the site X and we would like you to reset your password. Click here, input your login password. The link that you are clicking at, even if it looks like it's the same site, it's not. Please do not ever click in links in the email that lead to anything that you would input your password in. This is something that affects everybody. We had NSA, we have FBI people get conned this way. We had really even cybersecurity expert get phished. So this is something everybody needs to be aware of. Also, this is an email I got from my own email saying, security warning, third party accessed your domain. Hello, I'm is very good coder. I am known by my nickname. I hacked this mailbox. Yes, and they would like to extract some money from me. Thank you. But sadly, I know that anybody can send you an email from any address. So if you would like, you can actually send your students an email from your president's or your government address, and it will work with a lot of email providers. Some of them may run additional checks, but you can actually what is called spoof emails, like impersonate other email addresses, so that if you ever get an email from your bank asking you for your password, do not trust it. Then we may have what is called a homoglyph attacks. So this is something I mentioned yesterday, which can also happen with fake news sites, where somebody registers a domain very similar to actual domain in your country, but in a different alphabet, or uses a very similar letter. Like, for example, this is the letter A and this is algebraic symbol A. They look very similar and you probably wouldn't tell the difference apart in your browser, but this is a different domain that somebody can register. In Poland, we had a case with mBank, our bank, but you see, this has that little dot in here. And this is, if you go to this, you think, how am I, something is slightly off, maybe my monitor is dirty, but no, this is a different site. And even if it looks like your bank, if you put your login and the passphrase there, you will actually give it to the cyber criminals. Moreover, if somebody wants to infect your computer with an attachment to your email, this is the most popular way of spreading viruses, attachment to emails. Again, you can get an email from anybody. A common practice is, for example, to steal somebody's contact list from their email, and then not send the emails from their inbox, like their actual inbox, but masquerade as them, but having all their contacts. So the most popular are PDFs, are zip and exe files, and office files. So something that all of the teachers probably use. And what can you do? You can be very wary about strange looking emails and not open the attachments to the emails if you are not 100% sure that you know what it is. Especially if somebody sends you a random invoice. That's also a common pattern. Moreover, there is, if you can have some antivirus software which gives you what is called a sandbox. It will actually create a special armored container, and it will open the file in that container, checking if any viruses will come out. This is an important feature to look for in antivirus software. So the question is antivirus software just the antivirus feature effective? The answer is not really, because a lot of antivirus software will advertise saying our software protects from 99.999% of viruses which were discovered in the last month. Yes. But if you read some research papers, it turns out that a lot of viruses live for like 7 to 8 hours and then mutate, which gives antivirus software very little time to learn it and protect you from it. So you may be protected from some older strains that are already out there, but if something is fresh, something just mutated, you will not be fully protected from it. That's why, in addition to antivirus capabilities, look if your security software has the sandboxing mode and if it offers any firewall in addition to that. I will not recommend any software because I'm not an expert on that, but please look for those features. In addition, be aware that with antivirus software similar to the services, if it's free, be wary of it, because this is not free software as in nobody can analyze what Avast is, but Avast for years actually used all the capabilities of analyzing people's computers and their activity and actually sold those data, becoming basically a virus itself. So Avast, which even I trusted for a few years after hearing good reviews, turned out to be actually malware. Be aware of free antivirus software, and if something is free but not free software, as in open source free software, do not trust it. Next, the most popular kind of virus you will get nowadays is called ransomware. So it's something that will infect your computer, and you will not see it for some time, but in the background it will start doing some things, and in a few hours or a few days, depending on the speed of your computer, it will actually the computer will turn on to this. You become the victim of ransomware, and you need to pay ransom or you will not see your data. I've seen a lot of people. I've seen doctors. I've seen students writing their PhD and losing their PhD this way. And if you are using Windows or Mac, you are very likely to get it. Linux users may be a little safer, but not completely safe. And what you can do to combat it? You can do backups. Like, honestly, most ransomware cannot be easily broken, and you need to take copies of all important things on your computer on some offline medium, not in the cloud, because everybody will have access to it if they break into the cloud, but just have a pen drive, have some external hard drive that is not connected all the time, therefore it will not get the ransomware, but you will just move the important files there. It will save you a lot of money or a lot of pain by losing all the important stuff, all the photos from the last 10 years, or all the important things that you work at. Moreover, there is a program, if I am correct, it's actually co-founded by the government of Italy, which is called a program as in a foundation called No More Ransom. which gives you some information how to break some ransomware. It works for about 17-20 something% of ransomware. So if you get infected, do not assume that it will help you. There is a chance, but do have backups, please. The next kind of threat are botnets. So picture one, somebody infects your computer with a Trojan horse and a virus. Step two, this is done mostly by organized cybercrime groups. Your computer is infected, but does nothing. But then when that group is paid by some organization, they actually use your computer to either send spam or even attack other computers on their behalf. So this is not a legal problem. Like, I haven't heard about like any real cases where you could be legally accused of doing something if your computer is used as a part of the botnet. But you can actively hurt other people on the internet by not securing yourself properly. Next, we have man-in-the-middle attack. So we are Alice, we want to send a message to Bob, and an evil Mallory in the middle takes over and starts snooping on our messages, reading our emails. Please remember that emails by definition are not encrypted. Therefore, if you send an email, treat it as a postcard. Everything attached to an email can be read by middlemen. Anybody who is between your computer, maybe in your Wi-Fi, and all the servers that the email gets bounced through, and the final computer can read it. So it's a really bad way of sending like your students' data with their national ID numbers and so on. So this can happen, for example, in unsecure Wi-Fi's. If you are in some cafe that either is unsecured or everybody knows the password to, somebody can set up a computer within this Wi-Fi that will just intercept everything you send. And what can you do? You can use HTTPS. So at the beginning of the web page that you are entering, you have HTTPS with S at the end, and there is also this certification. A lot of modern browsers will actually tell you, okay, you are using an unsecure web page, please be aware of it. But using HTTPS will make sure that the connection is secured. You can also check if your email provider uses what is called TLS, so the email version of this, or basically an encryption. There's another nice addition to Firefox, which is called HTTPS Everywhere. So if a web page uses HTTPS, like allows it, but it's not default, it will automatically require that you access the default, the secure one. Moreover, be aware that when a lot of places will turn on syncing by default. Those can be operating systems. Apple does that a lot. Microsoft does that a lot. If you encrypt your Windows computer with default Windows BitLocker, you will the password will be automatically sent to Microsoft and stored on Microsoft servers. Be aware of that, and sometimes when installing new service, new software, you may need to turn off the syncing in order for your data not to be automatically sent. And why is that? Because global accounts with just a single passphrase to them are very problematic. Even if you have a very good passphrase, and even if you have a multi-factor authentication, you can still lose access to your account because, for example, you set wrong security questions. And we have multiple cases where somebody who was even a security professional had answers to all the security questions. So what was the name of your first dog? Who was your favorite teacher when you were 10? All those questions could be answered with the data they posted on their social media. So some savvy 13-year-old actually went on their social media, got all the answers and got access to all their data, including all the backups, all the saved passwords and so on, just because everything got synchronized. So be aware that the more you synchronize, the more you can potentially lose. It is convenient, but this is also a threat. So finishing, if you ask me to recommend you any software to encrypt stuff, if you want to encrypt bigger things like whole hard drives or whole pen drives or even your whole operating system, I recommend what is called VeraCrypt. This is a successor of TrueCrypt, and it works on multiple platforms and is really secure. If you want to just encrypt a single file to send it over email, 7-zip is really good. It's a really good free software. This is all free software I recommend. Really good free software application which can put really secure passwords on your zips. I forgot to translate this one. If you want to create a video conference, Jitsi is great. If you want to use some secure communicator, use Signal. WhatsApp has good encryption, but still Facebook knows about who you talk to, how often and in what groups. So Facebook still gets some data when you use WhatsApp. Signal is run by a foundation in San Francisco, the Electronic Frontier Foundation I mentioned before, and I can attest from the things that are possible to use easily, this is the most secure option. Wrapping up, if you do not pay for a service, you are its product, not a client. And what to do now? 3 simple steps. Start using Firefox with the proper extension, that's one. Install KeePassXC and make sure your passphrases are long, and start making backups. You can use an external hard drive. You can use some free software to put your data in the cloud, but please make backups. This is very important. And if you want somebody to recover your data, I'm an expert and I can do that for a lot of money, but I would rather you don't pay me money and have your data secure. The slides are available here. If you would like to look at more free software options, the Privacy Tools IO is a really good catalog. And if you would like to learn more about surveillance and privacy, the Electronic Frontier Foundation Surveillance Self-Defense is a really good place. So I am 3 minutes over time. I think we can take like 5 minutes of questions and then we can come back to the workshop on Discord. So do we have any questions? Remember to unmute yourself if you have a question. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, sadly, the email protocol never really expected for the emails to be encrypted end to end, like so that only you and the receiver can read it. So you need some solution. There are multiple. There is PGP, which is probably the most secure, and you can use it locally with local software called Thunderbird with Enigmail extension. So this is something I use, but this may require some setup and some knowledge. If you would like for your provider to configure that for you, there are multiple email providers which have built-in encryption like this, and those can be ProtonMail, this can be Tutanota, there are several others. If you look at privacy tools, and if you I didn't mention the search engines, but I think we can talk about it during the workshop. So if you look for email servers, okay, this didn't work the way I expected, but provider email. Let's look who has good privacy. So they recommend Proton Mail. Mailbox doesn't offer as much encryption as Proton Mail. It does offer some, but I use it and it's a little bit harder. Posteo is possible. This route, Tutanota. Tutanota will actually not require the recipient of the email to have the software installed, but if you send an encrypted email from Tutanota, it can create a site and a link, and if the email receiver clicks on this link and inputs the password that you gave them before through SMS or some other channel, they will be able to read this within the browser on Tutanota page. If you would like the emails to be fully encrypted, then it's not easy. And as long as we stay with our current business models, this will not be easy because, for example, Google has no intent on enabling this on Gmail, as they actively read the emails and use it for marketing. So implementing this on Gmail would mean that Gmail starts being worthless for Google because they cannot read our emails. As a user, there's little you can do. I've run my own email server for some time, and this was my biggest problem, and I needed to spend a day a week fighting the spam filters because a lot of places would claim that the emails from me are spam. As a user, basically using some different email provider. I know that Mailbox and Proton Mail are pretty good when it comes to not being classified as spam, but please do expect Gmail to try to weed out its competitors by putting them in spam. Google really wants for everybody to use Gmail.